What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the overall market thus far, what you should be watching for as time progresses. And also talk about some very important levels that are developing. But let me first say that I am not a financial planner. Take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you're guaranteed 7 free stocks. They're going to be fractions from the Magnificent 7, and soft runs very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, for NIO, the share price is up about 6.07%, holding up very nicely. The question is what's going to happen from here moving forward. In my video from yesterday, I said that NIO will likely kind of dip a little bit, then start pushing back up towards 5.66. This is the target we had, and this is my resistance I had drawn out based off historical data. And it's almost exactly where NIO ended up running to. If we break through this, our next target is going to be 5.8, then eventually the $6 area. And so far, the share price is showing lots and lots of strength. So overall, looking pretty good on NIO, very, very bullish looking structure. However, I do want to call out that we have more data coming out that could actually cause NIO to shift a bit. So we'll see what happens with the data and the earnings that just came out before I break down more details. Tomorrow is going to be Friday, May 3rd, 2024. Don't forget that we have 1 hour before the market opens a bunch of data coming out. We have the non-farm payrolls, the unemployment rate, not to mention governmental payrolls and manufacturing payrolls. So we'll see what this data causes in the morning. The unemployment rate is going to be the most important piece of data. We'll see what that causes. Then later on, 15 minutes after the market opens, we have the S&P Global Composite PMI and Services PMI. And then 30 minutes after open, we have more data coming out. We have the services prices, services new orders, and the employment data. We'll see what that causes at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So 1 hour before market open, we have lots of data coming out. Then 30 minutes after the market open, we have more data and a couple of Fed speakers later on. But we'll see what all this data causes. The new orders and prices will be very important for inflationary data. And we'll see what happens with all the data coming out with payrolls. So we want to be very, very patient and mindful. For the fear and greed index, the market is currently quite fearful, but it's shifting closer to neutral. And we just had some big earnings. We had Aapl and Coinbase just announced their earnings. Aapl did relatively well. They announced their largest ever $110 billion share buyback as iPhone sales are dropping 10%. Despite that, they still saw a big push in the share price because they've authorized their biggest buyback ever. It's a 22% increase relative to the previous buyback. EPS is a beat at $1.53. Revenue is a beat at $90.75 billion. Excuse me. We're also beating on, so iPhone revenue is actually a little bit short of expectations. Mac revenue is not bad, but then their iPad revenue is a little bit short as well. Other product revenue is also a little bit short, but everything else is quite decent. So they didn't provide formal guidance, but they had good earnings overall. I would say it's like meeting expectations for the most part. But what helped the share price run is the big buyback, and that's helping it increase big time. And that's great news for them. On top of this, we have Coinbase reporting its first quarter revenue. They did beat on most things out there. Revenue was a beat at 1.64 billion, just slightly above expectations, with EPS at $4.40. So it's not bad whatsoever. And despite that, although shares have gone up, we're seeing a little shift right here because of other things that have been announced involving them kind of being stuck in this legal fight. It still remains in a legal fight with the SEC. And there are other pieces of news that have come out involving projections. So we'll see how things go for now. We're still waiting for more data to come out, so I'm waiting for that. For NIO, on the other hand, the share price is up more than 20% since they announced their deliveries. That's more than double in April because we actually saw very, very good looking data. They're up 134.6% year over year, delivering 15,620 vehicles in total. And the Chinese EV makers also reported decent things. But the only company with lower sales was Li Auto, whereas NIO did relatively well. So a nice increase in sales. We also saw about 8,800 premium SUVs, 6,800 smart sedans, and the rest are something else. So that's good news for them. We also saw a 21.2% increase in the overall quarter, or at least for this year, relative to what we saw before. So it's not bad whatsoever. That's actually very, very good news, and I can't wait to see what else is coming out for them. So good news for NIO. Despite the price wars, NIO got some good sales in April. Volume is still high at 99 million. It is slowing down a little bit. The average is still at 52 million, so it's above that. And I'm not seeing any other changes other than the fact that the price-price ratio is going up because NIO is gaining some strength. And in terms of seasonality, we tend to be green about 53% of the time on Fridays. I also want to note that at 11 o'clock a.m. and 1 p.m., not to mention the final hour of the day, we tend to see more volatility. And that is it for now, at least for what we're seeing. So what do I see for NIO moving forward? Just to be honest with everyone, we're looking bullish right now as this is continuing to climb. But this resistance right here is going to be a little tight at this 5.6 area. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually gap down tomorrow. We might retest 5.5, then continue to push here. We could chop a little bit in this range and maybe try to go higher depending on how things go. It depends if we could break 5.66 or not. If you break this, then 5.8 is coming. If we fail to do so, look for 5.5. But I see potential in NIO to try to fight this resistance, maybe chop a bit in this range for some time tomorrow. And we might attempt to go a little higher, but then it might not soar as hard since volume is slowing down a little bit. So look for some choppy price action, eventually attempt to go a little higher, and then we'll see how things go from there. But overall, the share price is still bullish. For SPY, now we had a head and shoulders developing on the 4-hour time frame, but don't forget that Apple's earnings are pretty good, and that's helping Apple soar, which could help SPY even more. But we have lots of data coming out in the morning, the unemployment numbers, so we will see if we get a rejection. So watch 507 is resistance. If we reject off here and start sinking, we have to try to hold 505. If that fails us, 502 is coming, then 500, then we're going to be looking for a big dip. If we lose 500, a bigger drop is coming. Otherwise, we're still holding this range. The head and shoulders is valid unless we break past 510, then we could start pushing much higher. If it breaks 510, we're easily going up to about 512 and eventually 515. In my opinion, I think the best thing to do is just be a little bit unbiased right now. We are pushing in the after hours thanks to Apple, and we could push a little bit higher, but we will see what happens when all the unemployment numbers come out. So watch and see if you get that rejection or not. I'm going to try to be unbiased from this point on. For the QQQ, I'm seeing the same thing essentially. Now, the 4 hour is looking a bit more bullish. It looks to me like it might be attesting this 430 area very soon, so it might go a little bit higher thanks to Apple. But we will watch and see if we get this rejection thanks to the unemployment numbers. Do we reject off 430 and start sinking back down, or do we break through this and we just see a big short squeeze all the way back above? If we break past 433, we're easily pushing to the mid 430s. I think that we'll be going up to at least 435 plus if that breaks. So we'll just have to wait and see what the move is once all the data comes out tomorrow. Apple is currently pushing. We're currently at 184 a share. We'll have to see if this holds up, if we're at resistance. And I think that this could even go higher. We could be looking for 185 plus. We might see more buyers and FOMO buyers eventually come in. For Nvidia, thanks to Apple, Nvidia is also soaring. We're above our 862 resistance. We actually broke past it. Our next target is 872. Our support's at 862. If we lose this, we're going to be dipping to 850. So we'll see how things go. With that being said, the stocks are looking more bullish. NIO is pushing very, very nicely, and we could get a nice boost with the market tomorrow if we do go higher. But I think that we're going to see a little bit of a choppy price action between 5.5 and 5.66. Then we could go higher after that to 5.8 if that breaks. But that's what I'm seeing for NIO, guys. I want to thank you all so much for listening. The share price is looking pretty good in my personal opinion, and I still see potential for it to go higher later on. But it may be taking a slight breather for the time being, looking at the current range. So be patient, do what you have to do, guys, and I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow on the next one. Thank you for listening. Get ready for Friday, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you and peace out.